similar topic. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, exactly. So my research focused on the role of propaganda in the 21st century United States, specifically looking into how the mass media garnered support or even just acceptance for wars in Afghanistan, in Iraq, and in Libya. Generally, this was possible due to a dichotomy that was created of like an us versus them, a narrative that's commonly employed in cases of perpetuating genocide that creates that level of hatred. So we tend to think of propaganda as a concept that's isolated to past eras of world wars or as something that only exists in the modern world within authoritarian countries like China or Russia. But contrary to this general belief, propaganda is still very present in our country, arguably more so than ever before, albeit in more subtle and nuanced ways. Content from mass news media to Hollywood movies, military recruiting advertisements to even college course offerings and content are all developed in a way to help indoctrinate society with values of the dominant ideology being neoliberalism. So I wanted to demonstrate in my research that our media system helps facilitate warfare in a variety of ways, and that the impact of the mass media is much larger than just domestic. Mass media has the ability to influence popular opinion on foreign policy matters and even dictate how we view certain populations, specifically Arab and Muslim populations. It helps desensitize us to their realities while dehumanizing their livelihoods, cultures, and countries overall, motivating us to believe that destruction, bombing, invasion, occupation of Afghanistan, Iraq, and Libya were justifiable and even morally right. In all three cases I researched, the media was characteristically pro-war while it suppressed any anti-war viewpoints. The reasons given by the government and then parroted by the media in support of military intervention, like weapons of mass destruction in Iraq is probably the most prominent, were really kind of empty excuses that lacked content, masking other maybe neoliberal agendas. And we never necessarily helped these nations overall, despite typical rhetoric of humanitarian concern, democracy building, spreading freedom and liberation. Rather, we ended up doing the exact opposite, although many Americans still believe the excuses that were sold to us by our media. So my research suggests that there are pretty broad implications of how the media portrays news events and how it ultimately impacts our opinions about foreign policy. This media content can shape our worldview, and it creates harmful assumptions about groups of people we may not have contact with regularly in order to challenge these assumptions. Mass media can subconsciously alter our opinions to the point where we can't necessarily recognize its impact on us because we consider its content to be normal. Other implications, I would say, indicate that we don't have a free media system. The corporations and companies providing available media content have an interest in both how and what the general public thinks. Their goal isn't necessarily to provide us with truthful news that would inform us best, but to sell us a product. And this means that as long as we're uncritical of the media we consume, this content will continue to shape our perspectives and allow our government and military to continue to perpetuate warfare globally. And looking forward, I think I'd really like to expand the framework that I had learned about and apply it to more situations of wars overseas. Obviously, there's like numerous, almost an uncountable amount of situations it could be applied to, unfortunately. And kind of relating to what Kiki was bringing up about the war in Ukraine, I was interested in comparing how Ukrainians have been included as part of us rather than the other, in comparison to how Afghan, Iraqi, and Libyan civilians were discussed or really not discussed at all, and how their humanity was reduced while Ukrainians' humanity is focused on. Not saying that that's a bad thing, but just that there's a big gap in how they've been portrayed. And yeah, I think that's about it.
Excellent. Very good. Very, very good. Very good. Very good. Rosalie and Kiki, if you're interested. So, Rosalie, really for you. So, you're talking about media and propaganda. So, I should tell you, I mean, just to follow up, if you want to, I mean, it's not required for thesis. Harvard University just had a conference, or they've announced a conference. And guess what the title of the conference is? You guys, you're going to just flip. The title of the conference is that in what ways is the war on Ukraine a humanitarian intervention? This is exactly what propaganda looks like. This is called framing. How are we going to look at this war? This is so this is the entire conference, okay? This is not a paper. A paper, I can say, okay, I'm sure there are lots of assholes who think that, wow, this was a good thing we did. The entire conference, Harvard University, just think about it. So if you want, you can just poke around and look at it, but you don't have to do it for the thesis, but just out of interest for you guys. This is exactly what propaganda looks like, because this means we have to change the narrative about how we're going to think about it. And This is how you begin to change the narrative. Okay, fantastic. Very, very good. All right. Who wants to go next?